Hey, replay viewers. Be sure to check me out on YouTube, Penguin6, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Penguin6, kind of everywhere. But right now I'm on the peak, as we are every morning, up on the peak, watching the butterflies fly. Hey, thanks for the super hard Q66. Always appreciated. Coming on now, I spent a little time. Hey, Jupiter 2004, welcome to Periscope. Welcome to the world. Okay, there's that. Whoa, what happened to the view? That's kind of weird. Whoa, that was bizarre. It went to portrait mode on my thing. Any cruise ships in the harbor? Always cruise ships. There's one over there. Let's see. I think that's, yeah, there's one with the red thing on the top. There's two cruise ships off to my left. Oh, there's one way over there by the cruise ship port. There's one there. I just focused it by sticking my finger. I'm on the peak right now, which is the wealthiest neighborhood of Hong Kong. There is a star cruiser. Yeah, that's the star cruise. There is a storm coming this weekend. Whether it raises to the level of typhoon is debatable. Whether it hits us is debatable. The modeling that was introduced this morning is starting to take it on a slightly eastern track. So we don't know if we're going to get it or not. I think we're going to get wet. But the thing is, Jack Ma lives on Barker Road. Hey, DC. I've actually lived in every quadrant in DC. Northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. One of the few DC folks that can say that. Jack Ma's mansion is 22 Barker Road. It is 9:02 in the morning, which means it's 9:02 p.m. in the East Coast, in Washington, and other cities on that side of the country. She has had a very busy week sweeping this path of all the typhoon damage. We've had two storms come in the last week and a third one coming this weekend. It's been wet, to say the least. 8:02 Central Time. Hey, Boston. My niece was in school in Boston. Just graduated last year. There's my home, Hong Kong. It is a nice view. It makes the hike very easy. Yeah, Calgary's 7 o'clock, so you're out a little bit. Today, cyclone is just typhoon, basically. Hurricane, cyclone, typhoon, all kind of thing. Point out my boat. Which boat do I want today? Best boat out there right now is the catamarans, the ferries to Macau. Hey, Jakarta. And the Shipom. Welcome to Periscope. Welcome to Hong Kong. It's going to be a bit of a storm this weekend. Harvey is unbelievable, yeah. But again, it's not necessarily the storm, but the rains is just amazing. Amazing rains in Harvey. So you're on the peak. I'm Penguin6. I hike you around Hong Kong every single day, showing you the sights. Today on tap, definitely noodles. I haven't had noodles in a couple days. So we're going to hike. Oh, container ship coming out of the port. And over here is the Chinese Navy base. Where's the racetrack? There's two racetracks. The more famous one is Happy Valley, which is over here in the center of the city. The bigger one, however, is Sha Tin, which is out on the other side of those mountains. Sha Tin is the bigger track. Yeah, I'm going to have noodles probably about 11 o'clock. So in about, oh geez, it's already 9. Okay, so maybe a little later, 11:15, 11:30, we're going to go get noodles today. But definitely going to have noodles. We haven't had noodles in 48 hours, 72 hours. So, a bit hot right now. Favorite meal during this vacation? Steak. Wonton noodles, wonton mian, which are little egg noodles. I think though my favorite noodles are probably udon noodles, which are Japanese noodles. Udon, fluffy wheat noodles. Favorite meal was steak and Five Guys. And Pieology. I actually like that pizza chain called Pieology. where you get to create your own pizza. That's a really cool place. Pyology, they're sort of starting all over the place. Yeah, we were in Montana and Wyoming, all right? And until you've had steak in Montana or Wyoming, well, then you just haven't had steak. I mean, sure, it was just a steak, but it was good steak. Good steak. The summer ends a little bit later here. It'll get cool probably, what is it, November? October, November, it'll start to get cool. Five Guys are great. Udon is really tasty, but it's really fattening. But udon noodles are probably my favorite noodles. They're big and they're fluffy and they're just fun to eat. Guys, if you've never had udon noodles, go look in the Asian section of your grocery store. See if you can find some udon noodles and throw them in your soup tonight. And you'd be like, whoa, these are actually really cool noodles. Biology is pretty cool, you know, create your own pizza. So we're always looking for cruise ships. I think we got one more cruise ship over on this side of the harbor. Hey, Iowa, how's life in Iowa? I once dated a girl from Iowa, Ames, Iowa to be exact. I wonder what happened to her. We don't have PF Chang's. You're gonna save to come to Hong Kong. It doesn't take that much. I just looked round trip airfare, $600 from Chicago. 600, I guess it's 650 bucks from Chicago. I mean, geez, 650 round trip direct flight from Chicago to Hong Kong. Udon is Japanese. There's two types. There's the regular fluffy udon, and then there's this thing called inawana udon, which are smaller noodles, thinner noodles. I like the fluffy ones. Everybody likes the fluffy ones. My favorite Chinese noodles are probably Ifu noodles, which are called longevity noodles, Ifu noodles. 600 bucks from Chicago to Hong Kong. I mean, that's not even savings. That's just borrowing your neighbor's credit card. You could be here for $600. It's more to fly to LA. It is more to fly across country. You know, that's the crazy thing. It's more round trip to fly in the United States than it is to fly to Hong Kong. So if you want to come to Hong Kong, go to google.com/flights, google.com/flights, and type in a major airport near you to Hong Kong in the next month. I dated a girl from Ames for a little bit. She was a nice girl. Don't know what happened to her. Hey, morning. It is cheap. Yeah, you got to wonder what happens when United Airlines beats up an Asian guy. Suddenly, the prices on all the Asian flights plummet. No, actually, there's other factors at play rather than that viral video that went around. Staying here is not that expensive. Depends on what you can find. I mean, you can find anything. You can find cheap. You can find expensive. You can find an Airbnb place that's not bad. But you can eat, you know, whatever you want. It's like visiting Chicago. You know, what would it take to go for a week to LA or Chicago or something like that? Yeah, that's about what you'll spend coming to Hong Kong for a week. And the airfare is probably about the same too. But you'd be on the other side of the world where the noodles are plentiful. Harvey's costing 30 billion. Biology, yeah, biology. Oh, it's now set in your brain. You're gonna have to go get a pizza there. Hey, Turkey, you lived in Hong Kong long ago. It's changed a bit. I'm sure if you're familiar with Hong Kong, it changes every year, just about. There's always some new building. Will I stay forever? It's $1 million US. $1 million US between now and the time my youngest son starts university. That's my rent payment. 1 million US. I'll pay $500,000 US in school fees between now and the time my son starts college. So, am I willing to spend 1.5 million US to stay in Hong Kong, or should I save 1.5 million to pay for his college? Really tough decision. One I'm constantly debating. And I don't have an answer, to tell you the truth. We like living here. We would prefer to live here. If money was no object, I'm certain we would probably stay here. But money is always a concern and something we have to think about. I guess if money was no object, I'd sort of bide my time between here and London. Where would we move if we left Hong Kong? No, my kids are going to Ivy League schools. That's already been preordained by my wife. I don't know where we would live here. We go to an American school. Education is comparable to an American suburban, a good suburban school in the U.S. Hey, welcome Matt, welcome to Hong Kong. We're on the Hong Kong Trail, the peak. This is known as Lugard Road, Lugard Road, and it goes around the peak, which is the tallest mountain on Hong Kong Island. Now the reason we want to stay here is for the kids. The kids have a really good lifestyle here. It's very safe. It's very sheltered from a lot of stuff. They have a lot of good friends. Yeah, Philippines is a bit mental. Yes, the daily hike is back. Bonsoir, friends. How's your evening going? You're here in Hong Kong with me on Lugard Road, Lugard Road, walking around the peak, the tallest mountain on Hong Kong Island, as I do every day. We're on our way home. This is the walk I take to get home. Of course, I started at home and then I go back home. This is my daily walk. It's about 4 miles. It's about 6 kilometers or something like that. 6 kilometers. You generally say hi. Sort of tip of my hat to some. Some people say hello, some nod, some ignore me. It's not like strolling in England or something where everybody would say hello, good morning. Time for tea. Did I ride the tram up? I did actually ride the tram up today. I was not able to get a taxi. So I stopped for a bit and I watched some cockatoos nibbling on a tree, which was quite interesting because large portions of the tree were falling down on people's heads. There were 4 cockatoos having lunch. And then I walked over and got on the peak tram. And I rode up next to some tourists from Bangkok, I think it was. They were visiting Hong Kong, taking in the sights. Boy, the white balance is having a hard time today, isn't it? I'm going to give you another view in just a second, I think. No. I wouldn't go so far as saying they hate mainlanders. I would more appropriately say that they're annoyed by mainlanders in the same way that tourists annoy people in Venice. You know, it's not necessarily, they don't necessarily hate them, but on a day-to-day basis, they kind of just get annoyed. I'll give you an example. It's 8:59 and we're in a 7-Eleven and there's a line of Hong Kongers trying to get to work with a thing of coffee. And in front of the line is this mainland Chinese woman who is going through basically every cigarette pack that they sell, trying to find the cheapest one so she can buy like 10 cases of them to take back to China. So this woman is arguing in Mandarin with the guy, I want the cheaper one, I want the cheaper one. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, I just need to get a coffee to go to work. Can you please just let me check out? And they get annoyed. So I wouldn't necessarily call it hatred as sort of annoyance. And those sort of little petty things happen dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of times a day. We are coming to the bamboo forest shortly.
Smacking it on your nose.
She was holding up the line, yeah. But there's other stuff like that, like you're walking on the sidewalk and then this woman comes by with her suitcase. You know, mainland tourists often just carry their suitcases around and fill it up with goods. And they take up the whole sidewalk, or they block the bus entrance, you know, because they're trying to manhandle a suitcase onto the bus. And people are just like, oh, come on. You know, there's some public bus lines in parts of northern China, or northern Hong Kong, where all the mainland tourists come on and go to the shopping malls to buy goods to take back to China, where the people who are trying to get to work each day can't get on a bus. So you miss Cafe de Coral. That is, I don't think I've ever heard that statement before. But hey, more power to you. It's still around. I've heard people say I miss Choi Wa. But Cafe de Coral, that's an interesting one. So today we're going to get some wonton noodles, probably about 11-ish. And I don't know what we'll do after that. Are there black people? There's some people here from Africa. There's not a lot of African Americans. But I would say, honestly, statistically speaking, they're a trace. I mean, statistically a trace. In fact, Caucasians are only about 0.7% of Hong Kong. I mean, statistically, Caucasians are very low. Black people are statistically even smaller than that. I go several days without seeing a black person, except for my son's soccer coaches who are all from Africa. They do sweep that. Why is that, I wonder? Well, the immigration policies are geared towards professionals. The social, cultural influences are not exactly the friendliest to black people. So there's not a lot of stuff. Philippines, yeah, this is pretty, unfortunately, this is likely to end because we're going to enter the bamboo forest. The bamboo forest is going to kill our signal, as it does every single day. So we're about to lose signal. We will come back. Hey, Baltimore. You're all white part of Baltimore. Must be up north. I have a house in Maryland. But if you're following me, I'll be back in about 20 minutes when we exit the bamboo forest. Or do you want me just to keep going? All right, guys, if you want, I'll keep going. This signal will keep going. It'll just take, you see that man sweeping? That's where the signal's going to die. And then when I get out of the other side, it'll start up. So if you want me to stay on, I can stay on. All right, we'll just keep going. Let's get past the sweeper guy. All right, so guys, it might disconnect for you, but just bear with me. I will come back. The signal will commence again once we clear the bamboo forest. It might not even go away today. Sometimes it doesn't. Yep. Is it hot there? Today it's actually kind of pleasant. It's very humid. We've got a typhoon coming. Right now it's probably about 27 degrees Celsius, which is in the high 70s. I walk 10 miles a day, so 4 miles is only part of my morning. Sometimes I actually walk this hike twice in one day. This is where the signal's the worst. Here comes the boom. Yeah, that's a big boom, isn't it? Yeah, I just have to keep watching for hearts. I get hearts, I know I'm still alive. I think we're getting towards a clearing. And it should be coming back now. So that mountain over there is called High West. Oh, 97Ws now has a gale warning. Okay. Invest 91W is the storm that we're thinking is going to come to us. It's got to cross over the Philippines before it does. And whenever storms go over the Philippines, weird things happen. So we don't really know what's going to happen when it comes out the other side. Some of the computer models show it coming to Hong Kong. If 15 black guys were running, it would be something abnormal. You wouldn't see that. But I don't necessarily think it would startle people. It just would be, well, honestly, if you saw 15 Mexicans, that would be kind of abnormal. If you saw 15 white people, it would be kind of abnormal. We're usually more spread out. This is a good walk I do every morning. I start at my house and I end at my house. I usually take a tram or a taxi up here and then just walk back down. But this is a great way to get more exercise. Hey, Brazil. Welcome back to Hong Kong. So now this is actually called Harlech Road, or as we also know it, the Morning Trail. The Morning Trail. We're going to go by a waterfall in a bit, about a half a kilometer. This is actually a road, probably once or twice a week I see a car coming down this road. Every now and then there's a little fire truck that comes down here too. Wee-aw, wee-aw, wee-aw. There's this little tiny fire truck that does this. It does look like a nice day. This part, I think this part is relatively flat. Now, after you guys saw the view, until we got to that giant rubber tree, that was all of a pretty good decline. And then this part is generally pretty flat, either uphill or downhill. It's hard to tell when you walk. It's easy to tell when you bike. When you bike, you're like, oh, I'm going uphill. So, making our way around the peak. What's on the agenda today? Noodles. Noodles are on the agenda today, followed by work. My company, Live Womp. I've got a lot of work to do on the website, livewomp.com. So I'll work on that today. U.S. and North Korea won't go to war. If you move to the mid-levels, yeah, you can go for a hike. Yeah, I haven't had noodles in about 48 hours, so I'm due noodles. I had a light breakfast dinner last night. I had Cheerios for dinner last night and 5 dumplings. 5 homemade dumplings and my son's bowl of Cheerios that he couldn't finish. He was upset. Dog meat is against the law, has been since the 1950s. Unlike the United States, where 44 states allow you to eat your pets, here it's considered animal cruelty. Yeah, 44 U.S. states have not passed laws outlawing the practice of eating your personal pets. So you could eat your dog or your cat in 44 states in America, and it is legal. Now, the commercial sale of dog meat is prohibited in the United States, as it is in Hong Kong. But pets for personal consumption is still allowed. There is a petition. If you type Dog Meat USA on Google, you'll find a petition by the SPCA to outlaw the practice in the United States. No, since China took over, yeah, there's changes every day. Growing influence of Beijing into day-to-day life of Hong Kongers. And very little response from the West. The West has just sort of taken it. Hi, will we move back to the States? Probably one day, yes. When? I don't know. For the better? Changes for the better? No. No, the animosity level in Hong Kong is rising. The cost of living is rising. I don't think anyone thinks Hong Kong is getting better. No. Not at all. I've lived here 7 years. I'm a permanent resident. In fact, what's the day? The 31st? Okay, tomorrow I go get my new card. My permanent resident card. I pick it up tomorrow. What day is it? Today is Thursday. It is 9:25 in the morning on a Thursday. I had some sort of dream last night that was so intense. When I woke up, I was completely lost. I had no idea I was in Hong Kong. That's one of the weird things about growing up in one country and living in another, is oftentimes you dream of life back or events back when you were in the US. And then I wake up and I look out the window and I'm in Hong Kong and I'm just like, how did I get here? Dual citizenship is complicated. I don't have dual citizenship. I have permanent residency here. China doesn't recognize dual citizenship. So to get a Chinese passport, I would have to cut up my American passport. I'm not going to do. What do I like most about Hong Kong? This. Walking. I can walk everywhere. No sign of Russia's had a defense pact since the 50s or something like that. Oh, here comes the Rangers. So the Rangers are coming in their little Yogi Bear car. Beep, beep, out of my way, I'm a Ranger. Beep, beep. Those cars are so cute, little Suzuki vans. Hong Kong is not near North Korea. North Korea is about a 5-hour flight from Hong Kong. If you want to see what it looked like, imagine if George Jetson and Jack Bauer had a kid. That's kind of me. Or you can just go to my YouTube channel, Penguin6, where I have a daily video blog where you can see my scruffy face. But my view is Periscope is a window, not a mirror. Oh, 40-year-old, I wish. My half plus 7 rule is 32 and a half actually now, which means I can only date women who are 32 and a half or older for it to be considered socially acceptable. That means Scarlett Johansson is a yes, but most other movie stars are a no. They are pretty thin, predominantly because we walk so much. I don't know if I would say they're calm. People are calm in this neighborhood, but there are other neighborhoods of Hong Kong where calm isn't really the word I would use. Constipated is the word I'd use. Lunch today, noodles, chimchaki, about 11 to 11:30. I'll pop into my favorite noodle joint for lunch. Second lunch today. I don't know if we'll have a second lunch. We might. I had a second lunch yesterday of chicken skewers. That was really good. Do I have a house in the States? Yes, I do. I have a house in Maryland. I have a house sitter living there. Fish and chips for second lunch. That's a little much. If I had the noodles for breakfast and fish and chip for second lunch, that's really pushing the cows. I could do the fish and chips for dinner, but tonight I've got a school function. So maybe what we'll do is we'll have our second lunch like 4 o'clock. Ah, I hear the flute. That's the Pied Piper of the Peak. I have a house sitter who lives in the house and takes care of things. Yes, I'm glad it's not in Texas. Where's what? Hey. Has U2 ever played Hong Kong? I don't think U2 has played Hong Kong. I think they might have played Macau. I'm not sure. Lunch today is noodles. a Squarespace site. I did hear the flute guy. He walked by. What, my live launch site? I don't know if I built in Square functionality yet, if that's turned on. Yeah, this is a volcanic island formed in the Jurassic era. There was a supervolcano in Kowloon, and this mountain is actually one of the offshoots of that. Metallica just played in Hong Kong recently, yeah. I think Metallica was here like 3 months ago. I think Metallica was here. 6 months ago, maybe. YouTube is Penguin6, just like this. Penguinsix on YouTube. I have a video blog, and I post all the Periscopes as well. I'm going to cut a new video blog soon. Good night, East Coast in Cyclone. Send some labradorite. I don't know if I could find that. I slept through geology class. Can you cycle on this path? I mean, yes, but there are a tremendous number of blind corners, and there are a lot of pedestrians and even cars. Frankly, this is not really a good place to cycle. You'll be riding the brakes most of the time. You'll get people ticked off at you, and you can't really get up to speed. There are bicycle paths in Hong Kong completely dedicated to bikes, which are much more fun. They're just out in the new territories, up near Sai Kung and Tai Po. Do I ever miss my family in the States? My parents live in the States, and of course I do miss my parents. Though, I'm kind of old. I've moved away from my folks 30 years ago, so I don't really see them all the time anyway. We go home every year or two to try to see them. See a lot of lizards. We see a lot of little geckos about this big, blue ones usually, blue and black. So I actually do see lizards once a week. There's a Teslas. I see a lot of Teslas. Someone just caught a 3-meter python up in the new territories that ate his chickens. So they were writing about that in the paper. They trapped the python, and the python regurgitated what was left of the chicken. Yuck. Yuck is right. Then I read about an apartment building where they saw a cobra slither in the front door of the apartment building. The crime rate is extremely low in Hong Kong, one of the lowest crime rates in the developed world. That's not to say there's no crime, but the chances of crime affecting you is pretty minimal. There's a 5-foot cobra. The police called in their snake team and they got rid of him. What are they building on the Peak? They're renovating the Peak Galleria, which is a shopping mall at the Peak. It's undergoing renovations. It is a good view. It's a British system of law, and they practice British common law as the court system. The worst one was the python in Sheko, S-H-E-K space O. Type Shek-O Python, Shek-O Python on Google, and watch the video of the snake they found in some guy's house. It was about 5 meters long, 15 feet, something like that, and it was huge. Took a couple police officers and a few other handlers to get him bound into a bag. Yeah, Shek-O Python, S-H-E-K space O space Python. Russia and China both pay lip service to communist ideals. In fact, there are some areas of both that are still run in a communist way with a community and whatnot, but the leadership of both are too highly connected with autocratic and, you know, kleptocracy, basically. Do I walk back up? No. Sometimes I walk up. I live down. In fact, I live right there in that building. Yeah. So, oh, there's the tram. That's how I came up today. I came up on the tram. I voted for myself because I didn't like either candidate. I didn't win. I can tell you that much. I didn't win. Russians can leave the country. Hell, there's plenty of Russians come visit us. Hong Kong has a large number of Russian tourists who like to visit Hong Kong and buy luxury goods and whatnot. When it comes to luxury goods, Hong Kong is actually as expensive as luxury goods are here. Luxury goods here are still cheaper than buying them in many other countries where they're very rare. I mean, Nepal doesn't have a lot of Chanel, you know, and Bangladesh doesn't have many Louis Vuitton stores and stuff like that. Are there African Americans to visit? Yes. Are you just there to tour? No, I live here. This is my home. I've been here 7 years. I'm a full-time resident, permanent resident. Yeah, there's always a line you can vote for yourself. In fact, Mickey Mouse gets a lot of votes every year in the elections. So in many states there is a write-in area and you can write in any name you want. I write in myself. I write in myself quite a bit because I don't know some candidates or their positions for some of the minor offices, so I just go ahead and vote for myself. So one day I might end up as dog catcher or something like that. Justice of the peace. I moved here for love. I met the right girl, fell in love, married her, followed her to Hong Kong. But that said, I do love living here. It's a nice city. It's very, very expensive, but I have a very good lifestyle here. I have a very simple lifestyle here. My life here is less stressful than my life in the United States. Primarily because I don't have to drive that much. No stress at all. It's interesting, I live kind of a village lifestyle here in an urban metropolis. I walk to get the things I want. You know, the grocery store is across the street, the drugstore down the mountain, McDonald's delivers. You know, I have a nanny who takes care of a lot of the day-to-day crap stuff that I don't feel like doing, like washing the clothes and stuff. And I'm in the central business district where there are a lot of people I run into. So I literally, you guys have seen my scopes, but I run into someone, you know, once a week or twice a week. Hey, how's it going, Bob? Hey, Fred, how's it going? Hey, what's up? Stuff like that. I'm not stress-free because it's very, very expensive to live here. And there's other things like typhoons and pollution and sometimes just a little bit of island fever or claustrophobia. But generally, yeah, I have a pretty good life here. There's things I miss. I mean, I can't tell you how much I miss a cool, clear fall night. You know, like the Friday night before a college football game. You know, walking around the campus, this cool, crisp air. You've got to wear a sweatshirt because it's so cold, and you're going to eat a hot dog to stay warm. I mean, that whole experience just totally gone for my kids. You vote for yourself? Well, not if I get my wife to vote for me, too. The votes are often tabulated separately. It's not like they're going to go back and find a specific ballot. But again, I don't really care if people know who I voted for. In fact, I know of a guy who once got elected to something because he got like 20 of his fraternity brothers to all write in his name. And so and there was like the final election was like 20-2 because nobody cared about this vote. How much data do I have? I have an unlimited data plan. I use about a gigabyte a day, a little less. So this is the new building being built. I think it's in a couple houses. 42 million US just for the land. 42 million US just for the land. They had to build a driveway up to where they're building the actual apartments. I think that's going to be the entrance. It's like the elevator or something. Oh, you know what? It's probably going to have 3 separate entrances. That would make sense. This water has been gurgling up since the storms last week. They love building things, that is right. It's part of the perpetual motion machine they try to create in China, also known as a pyramid scheme. Keep financing the construction of stuff. It's not always worked out that well. I would say it's Keynesian. I would say it's corrupt. There are ghost towns in China, and there are ghost roads and whatnot. The Chinese economy is very strange. You know, you have a central Chinese government which is communist, but the actual enforcement of ideals, dictates, mandates, goals, and all that are farmed out to the local party secretaries. So you can have the party secretary in Shanghai doing one thing, and then the party secretary in Zhuhai on the other side of the country doing something else. So these party secretaries can be very in tight with local developers. They can, say, well, the government has mandated that we reduce steel production, but we need to give this guy money. So they go ahead and give money to him. And then Beijing's like, you can't do that. And they're like, we're in charge of what goes on here. So it's a lot of things fighting against each other. The central government says, let's clean up the environment. Everybody says, yeah, that makes sense. And then they say, well, we also want this economic goal. So they're like, oh, well, screw the environment. It's working, but, anyone who's done any severe due diligence, who's scratched beneath the surface of the Chinese economy, is very, very frightened of what's going on. I have friends here who are lawyers and stockbrokers, and they're just like, any money you put in the Chinese economy, stock system is a pure gambling, like Macau, like Vegas. There are no solid financials based on how you would do stuff. I don't have a new page. This is the same me. Maybe everybody got unfollowed or something. Periscope does weird things. Oh, so guys, we're going to have a bit of a signal degradation issue in the next few minutes. Stay with me. I'm here. I'm still here. They, but who is they? Is it the central government or is it the regional party officials? You could say the government controls everything, but you have to understand you have local government, like states, and you have the national government, and they sort of don't really always jive. The party does control everything, but it's a big country, and at times it's almost uncontrollable. In fact, the Bo Xilai case showed that how powerful one party official could get. Bo Xilai was almost forming his own army. That's kind of was a fear to some of the Beijing authorities that this high-ranking, highly popular populist was starting to develop his own military. They had to shut him down and make a lot of serious arrests. You have to be an atheist to join the party. I guess so. I don't know. I don't know if they have any checks. When you give hearts, the pop-up screen comes on. Oh, maybe that's too tough. Yeah, that cult guy in India. That was really bizarre. He got arrested and then his fanatics went on a rampage. So this house here is 100 million US dollars. 100 million, and they still dry their laundry on top of the thing instead of a dryer. The house next to it is 70 million US. You can rent one of those for 65,000 US dollars a month. 65 grand per month, and you can rent that townhouse. This is a nice view, isn't it? Many other houses with nice views up there. I don't know what those go for. China, cryptocurrency is a threat to the Chinese economy in some ways. There is a huge amount of cryptocurrency work being done in China. There are a lot of data mining going on in China. There are a lot of investors in China. But cryptocurrency functions as a shadow banking system in China for people, yes, for owners who can buy property, for people to escape currency controls that exist in China. A Chinese person is only allowed to take out of China 50,000 US dollars a year. Maximum 50,000 US dollars can be taken out of China. Now, how are these Chinese buying multi-million-dollar apartments in Vancouver and New York and Ferraris? Well, they're using a shadow banking system to get the money out of those countries. One such shadow banking system is cryptocurrency. Why? Well, the Chinese government sets the exchange rate for the RMB to the US dollar, all right? Now, if you listen to Trump, and actually if you listen to pretty much any economist, the RMB is artificially low to make those prices more attractive to foreigners. All right. As a result, the difference in what the RMB trades for and should trade for has to be purchased. The Chinese then buy U.S. Treasury bonds. You always read this, oh, China is financing our debt. Well, actually, China is suppressing their currency by buying U.S. bonds to cover the difference between what the market says and what they want the RMB to trade for. That's why China's economy is intricately tied up with the U.S. economy. They have to buy our debt, basically. Now, China stopped buying debt about 2 years ago because they were letting the RMB float, and the RMB was moving upwards. But as the economy slowed, the government intervened again and pushed the RMB down. From Washington, D.C., but I grew up in Illinois. That's why I have that Midwestern accent. Yeah, so they have to keep the currency low. Now, in order to control the currency, they have to limit the outflows of currency. Thus, they limit every citizen in China to 50,000 US dollars a year. Otherwise, people would pour their money out of China, the RMB would depress, and they'd be in a bigger pickle. Now, the way to escape those controls are A, go to Macau and use the triads to get your money out of China. B, have an offshore company where all your income comes into that offshore company, which is what a lot of them do. Or C, cryptocurrency. Buy bitcoins here for RMB prices and then sell them for US dollars or whatever currency overseas. If you have money, Hong Kong is a great place to live if you have money. Noodle times is about 11, so we got another hour and a half. Yeah, it's a bit of currency manipulation. Um, Now, the U.S. has not called China out on this because China has assured the U.S. over and over again and made some steps to more free float the currency, steps that were quickly undone over the last 2 years. So who knows what's going to happen. Hong Kong, on the other hand, has a fixed, pegged exchange rate. The Hong Kong dollar only trades at a certain rate. It is not allowed to do. It does feel like New York in a way, except we're just a lot more green. Yeah. You know, I realized on this trip back to the U.S., one of the reasons New York is so stressful is because the roads are so big. You know, you go down the avenues and they're 5 or 6 lanes wide sometimes, and there's all these cars and they're going fast and they're noisy and they're loud. Here in Hong Kong, you actually walk past more people, but they're not as loud and noisy. Are Bitcoins a good investment? Bitcoins are a very, very good gamble if you are willing to lose all your money. Bitcoins, Litecoins, Ethereum coins, all of these cryptocurrencies offer tremendous potential for reward if you are willing to take a tremendous risk, and that risk is total and complete collapse of all your investments. So is it a long-term investment? Is it a safe long-term investment? I have a hard time saying that. Is it something to do with a few $1,000s that you have to burn, that you don't care if you lose? Oh, yeah. In fact, I'll probably be putting in a few $1,000s later this week because saw what Ethereum coins did yesterday. Went up about 10% in a day. The thing about all these cryptocurrencies is that the big ones, the big name ones, seem to be pretty solid. The fly-by-night little ones seem to be really risky. That said, you can still make 100% return sometimes if you get on the right market. So the signal is going to get a little weak as we go down this next bit of the path, but I'll still be here. I'll keep broadcasting till the battery dies. My hand gets tired. Hong Kong's Rainbow Six, I have to check it out. Yeah, risk and reward. I mean, if you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin when they first came out, I mean, you'd be a billionaire. I mean, literally, I think you would be a billionaire today, or several hundred million, something crazy like that. Hell, if you bought $1,000 in Bitcoin just a few years ago, you'd be a millionaire. Yeah, the connection gets wonky in this corner, and it's just the way it is. The spider web. Yeah, it freezes there. It freezes usually around this corner. I think today will be okay. It is lovely. Until you come around the corner, there's like a wild pig looking at you or something. And you're like, what the? Yeah, you think it's cool until you see the pig, and you're like, what the hell? I'm a permanent resident of Hong Kong. I have the right to live here forever, basically. Whether I do live here forever is more of a financial concern. I'm debating on a daily basis. I pay $14 for a gallon of milk, $10 for a box of Cheerios, $8 for a gallon of gas. Paid $5 for a box of cake mix. So, you know, living here full time, it adds up. I am, however, going to buy a bowl of noodles for about $4. Produce, well, it depends what you're going to buy, but everything's expensive. Everything's expensive. Except iceberg lettuce. Yeah? Iceberg lettuce here is cheaper than the U.S. Like when I was in the U.S., I don't know, what's iceberg lettuce go for now in the U.S.? $2? $2.49? $1.50? What? So I can get iceberg lettuce here for about 75 cents or $1 a head. I can get good iceberg lettuce from England for $1.50. It's all trade-offs, you know. 99 cents? Okay, so iceberg lettuce has come back decent price now. But remember, I have to have that shipped on a boat. Why is it so high? Well, land is at a premium here, so the store, the store that has it has to be renting, paying high rent. The factory, the warehouse that ships it has a high rent. The guy who drives the truck, the guy who drives the truck has a high rent. Yeah, Marks and Spencer food store actually air freights produce and bakery goods to Hong Kong every single day. So I buy bagels and scones and baps. Do you guys know what a bap is? It's like a hamburger bun, a BAP. And they're all baked in England and flown to Hong Kong. Same with their vegetables. So we get cottage pie and shepherd's pie from England. Are these guys council workers? The local administrative district hires a contractor who employs these guys. Weed, look around. I mean, God, there's weeds everywhere. This place is just one gigantic bean place. So, you know, kudzu, vines, they're all here. No, they're not. I don't know about China, but in Hong Kong, I don't think there's ever been a reported case of Lyme disease in Hong Kong, because the ticks that carry Lyme disease are not native to this area. There have been 2 suspected cases, but they were not proven out. It is horrible in the mid-Atlantic. This is not a park. Oh, you're vegetarian. This is a path connecting 2 roads, Barker Road and May Road. This is an old path that was used by rickshaws and sedan chairs. Do you see much poverty? Yes and no. The Gini coefficient here is the highest in the developed world. That's the measure between the very, very wealthy and the very, very poor. In the areas that I frequent in Hong Kong Island, I do not see a lot of poverty. Think Manhattan, okay? I don't see a lot. Now, sometimes I go into Kowloon and I go into some poorer areas, think, you know, the Bronx or something like that, or, you know, outer Brooklyn. And so, yeah, I do see some poor areas where there are some poor people, but I don't see people living on the street eating out of trash cans. In fact, I see more of that in the United States, to be honest. So this is another viewpoint that just opened up because of the typhoon. That gigantic tree fell over. Would I have to end my U.S. citizenship? Never. I don't have to do that. I'm a permanent resident. I have my green card. So most people that you know in the United States that have permanent residence or have a green card continue to hold their foreign passport. They just have the right to remain in that country, in the United States forever. I have the right to remain in Hong Kong forever. In fact, if I leave, I can even come back. So this golf cart is connected to this house. The rent here is $33,000. Any cannibals? No, cannibalism isn't really practiced in this part of Asia. In the South Pacific, though, and actually I just read about a cannibalism case in South Africa, but no cannibals here. That's great. Can of peas? I don't know what the hell that is. Oh. Yeah, cannibals. Yeah, okay. Guys, if you think I'm talking about cannibals, you're using too much of your product. Come on. Think about it. Yes, yes, sarcasm wins. Woohoo! See, I come from a culture where talking about illegal drug use is generally not considered proper conversation topic. You know, maybe that's just me, maybe that's just considered normal. So, no, I don't have any information on that. Hong Kong doesn't really have much asylum policy. We're on the peak right now. Actually, China is one of the main hemp producers of the world. There's just an article in the South China Morning Post about how China is one of the largest producers. We were on the peak Peak, Victorious Peak. Oh, he's coming down. Hang on a second. How's it going? Need some oil.
Yeah.
So he's the chauffeur for that house, and when they need to go somewhere, he comes down in the golf cart, picks them up, takes them back up, or he goes down in the golf cart, parks the golf cart in the garage, gets the BMW, and goes pick up. This is Victorious Peak, which is it's just known as Victorious Peak. It's the tallest mountain on Hong Kong Island. I think it wasn't called Mount Kellett. It has an old mountain name, but everybody calls it Victoria or Victorious Peak or just the Peak. We just walked around the peak, and we're now walking down from the peak to the mid-levels. We're walking from Barker Road to May Road. There are some there are cat cafes and bunny cafes. Yeah, I think the cat cafe, though, for hygiene reasons, they insisted that the cats stay in cages. The bunny cafe, though, I think the bunnies are bopping around. So Barker, General Digby Barker, was the commander of Her Majesty's forces in Asia around the turn of the century. And one of his aides, one of his assistants, was a guy named May. May later in the civil service became the governor of Hong Kong. So Barker and May were connected that way. They are also connected in the sense that Helena May was Helena Barker, and General Digby Barker's daughter married Mr. May and became the First Lady of Hong Kong. Can you move to the side so you can see the altitude? Right now we're at about 600 or 700 feet above sea level. The walk I was doing earlier was 1,400 feet above sea level, and the true peak, the top of the mountain, is about 1,800 feet above sea level. That is the tallest mountain on Hong Kong Island, but it's not the tallest mountain in Hong Kong. There's a mountain in Kowloon that is over 2,000 feet, almost 3,000 feet, I think. So we've walked from 1,400 feet down to about 600 feet right now. We're at the May Road tram station right now, where the Peak tram stops. This is actually where I got on the tram and went up the mountain. It's about a 29-degree incline or 31-degree incline. The tram at this point goes up at about a 30-degree incline. So let me see if I can show you the tram tracks. So these are the tram tracks, and this is vertical. Can you walk up both ways? You can, however, on days like today when it's humid as hell, it's not really that pleasant. So I did not. There's the garage for that house. It's a 14-car garage. 13's an unlucky number, so they had 14-car garages. There's some people waiting for the tram. It's going to be a few minutes, though. How much was it going up? It was about $4 US. It was 38 Hong Kong dollars. It's about $5 US. If I took a taxi, it would be about $6 US. If I walk, it's just my own sanity. This isn't the zoo. The zoo is down that way. There are some big spiders here. In fact, though, we're going to see some cockatoos up here. In fact, I can hear them. There were a lot of cockatoos in this area the other day, or this morning. Now, the cockatoos used to be members of the zoo and the British governor. But when the Japanese forces invaded Hong Kong, the British governor said, there is no way I'm going to let my private bird collection fall into the hand of these Japanese troops. So he opened the windows and opened the cages, and he ordered the aviary at the zoo to do the same. And all the birds flew out, primarily into this neighborhood, because we're just up from the old governor's mansion. So now today, there is a colony of sulfur-crested cockatoos that are believed to be descendants of these war refugees from World War II. And there are dozens of these large birds. Birds that go for $1,000 US at pet stores in America fly free in this neighborhood. All because they were war refugees. It's been a steady climb. It goes up and down. There was a spike in 1997. Then there was a humongous crash in the SARS crisis. And then over the last 10 years, they've been steadily going upwards. There was a huge spike in the 80s. So it's a bust and boom cycle. In the 1960s, there were a number of riots in Hong Kong caused by communist sympathizers and left-wingers here against the British colonial government. Many died in the riots, and it wasn't until that Beijing decided to cut it off. I do go to Beijing and Shanghai occasionally. I also go to Macau, but I haven't been lately. That led to property prices collapsing, but then in the 70s and the 80s, the property came back. A lot of cockatoos in Australia. Cool. Maybe that's where the governor got his cockatoos. Hong Kong was occupied by Japanese forces from December 1941 to the end of the war. The Battle of Hong Kong raged from December 8th until Christmas Day in 1941. Bloody Christmas, when British forces capitulated and Japanese troops commenced war crimes against the survivors, raping and killing a number of nuns at St. Stephen's Hospital on the south side of the island, murdering prisoners in their bed, wounded soldiers, and then enslaving many of the locals here. Hong Kong does not have a firewall like China does. We're outside the Great Firewall, so there's not like a day-to-day monitoring like there is, say, in the U.S. No, it's not really a big deal. Phone is blurry. I'm not jogging, I'm hiking, just walking. And there's the ICC. That's the tallest building in Hong Kong Island, the IFC. It's not me, guys. It's sort of just the connection. That's my grocery store right there. My grocery store is right across the street from my house. We don't call them council workers, but yeah, when the minimum wage is $4 US an hour, it's very easy to hire a bunch of people to clean the streets. You should remember that we've had 2 typhoons. We've had a typhoon and a tropical storm in the last 10 days. So there's a lot of typhoon damage still. And these workers are very busy removing down trees and whatnot. They've been working pretty much overtime since the typhoon. $4 US per hour. That's the minimum wage here in Hong Kong. I should note I pay $14 US for a gallon of milk. So a gallon of milk is 14 US dollars. That's if I buy the cheap American stuff. If I buy the expensive Australian stuff, it's about $24 a gallon. So I'm a dad. I do dad stuff. I have a new startup, though, called LiveWomp, L-I-V-E-W-O-M-P, livewomp.com, social media influencer site. I'm starting up, but most of my days I do dad stuff, taking care of the kids, walking around. Today I'm going biking with my son. I bought him a new bicycle the other day, and he's really excited. How much does it cost to ship something back to the U.S.? By the mail? Not that much. If I'm shipping all my foods and furniture, if I was going to move my entire house back to the U.S., I'd be looking at several $1,000s, maybe $6,000 to $8,000 US. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. I'm going to sign off and go up and take a shower. I'll be back in about an hour, and we'll go. I have seen Texas. It's horrendous. We'll go get some noodles in about an hour.